Good evening, my name is Garrett, and welcome to The Last Call. Tonight's final drink is from Frey Ranch. This is their straight rye whiskey, bottled in bond, coming in at a 50% ABV, at least 4 years old. Now, Frey Ranch is based out of Nevada, where they're not only aging, distilling, bottling all their own product, but they're actually growing it as well. So this is like true farm to bottle kind of concept here. And I think that is such an amazing idea. So the information we have on this is they're using 100% winter rye in this mash bill and keeping it bottled in bond. Quick rundown on what bottled in bond is. It's got to be 50% ABV, got to be at least 4 years old, aged in a government bonded warehouse, all the grains from a single season, and all done underneath one master distiller. So fits that criteria. Now, I'll go on the record as saying that wasn't a big fan of the bourbon. It was okay at best, and especially after how many people hyped that bottle up. As soon as I found it here in Indiana, I jumped on that opportunity. And again, it was a little lacking. I picked up the rye at the same time, and I hope I didn't mess up and go either judge them too early or jump in to something I'm not a big fan of. I do hopefully want to try their cask strength, because everyone's now telling me like, oh no, you got to get the cask strength version of the bourbon. That's the better bottle. So I don't know. We'll see how this one goes before I jump down that rabbit hole. So for now, let's jump into the bottle itself. I will say, not only is this one of the most heavy bottles I've ever seen, I freaking love it. And I just like their simplicity belt style of labeling on here. Really cool. But chunky bottles. So, as always, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, hang around for a bit, become a member if you'd like. If you're interested in some other reviews over Frey Ranch that I've done, those links will be up above and down below. Big, heavy cork as well. Now, I have been over the past year really going down the rye rabbit hole, so I'm excited because I think rye is just an underappreciated spirit. And now seeing it here in the past year and a half, a lot of people really jumping into it. It's awesome. Beautiful color. And also for references, this is bottle number 1593. So, let's go for notes. Ooh. Okay, already, I love that nose much more than I did the bourbon's nose. A lot of sweet grains, beautiful spiciness of that rye. Oh yeah. A lot of floral, a little bit of herbalness in there, but it's like a sweet bready note. Nice bit of caramel sweetness in here, an oaky cherry layer showing up. Like that is a beautifully sweet rye. Very approachable. You don't get that kind of medicinal and the kind of, what's the other one? Dilly notes that a lot of like Indiana rye has. Which is, I have no objections to that nose, but this is sweet. It's very simple, but in a good way. I like the cherry aspects, and now, oh, there it was. I am getting like I'm going to say this, and you're going to have to kind of follow along here. It reminds me of sweet tarts without the tart. And there is an underlying fruit layer going on in here. Like there's definitely green apple, red apples, a little bit of cinnamon and clove going on as well. But definitely there is like a sweet tart without the tart. Kind of candy to it. Very approachable. There's no ABV, nothing harsh, no off notes. It doesn't even have what I call the craft note to it, which is like that well-aged antique furniture with shellac. It doesn't even have that, and I like that nose, but I expected that coming from them with being how craft they are. But on the nose, beautifully soft, spicy, sweet rye notes. Let's go for a taste. Yeah, there we go. Got a nice spice layer going on right from the get-go. Beautiful, kind of like cinnamon sticks, herbalness. You get that floral rye in there, big time. Tart green apples, nice homemade caramel drizzle going on. grain. You get some of that rye grain in there as well. Doesn't teeter into bread notes for me. And it is a little bitter here in the finish. I will say that. It's not like a bad bitter, but it definitely showcases a bitter note going on. But up until that point, really impressed me on that. Especially for only 4 years old, supposedly. You know, it's at least 4 years old, I should say. It's got a really sweet and soft floral rye notes in there. I like that. Pretty good cling overall on the palate. A little bit oily on there, which helps out with that. And now I'm getting almost like a black licorice or like a star anise kind of note going on very lightly in there. And it kind of shows up when I start getting that bitter note. Like that spiciness from the rye. I really wish it was a little more complex going on, because I feel like I'm going to start repeating myself. And it's because it's very simple. Nothing necessarily wrong with it, but just a really solid rye. I like those sweet characteristics from the fruity notes. It does have a bit of earthiness in here, which kind of helps cut that up to being too much of a sweet character. And really, just a good craft rye whiskey. Third sip here, I'm getting a little bit more of an alcohol bite on there, which is strange. I didn't expect that to find it on the third sip, but it's almost a little astringent on the palate now. A little bit of pepperiness going on in there too. Interesting. I would have expected that roll to be reversed, getting a little more alcohol at the beginning and not the end, but it's got that bitter note is really ramping up for me. As always, it doesn't matter what you drink or how you drink it, as long as you enjoy it. Man, I started off really liking this one. Maybe it needs to open up a little bit, but on the surface here, it's okay. It's not bad. Let's talk about a grade for this one. Why don't we do that? And you know what, to be honest, standard pricing tends to be right around that $60 price range, which is how much I picked it up for. I've seen some websites have it low as like $55, some as high as $63. Look, you have a craft distillery, aging, distilling, bottling it themselves, growing the grains, and I think that's amazing. However, the downside to this one is that bitterness that I kept finding more and more of, and that's a killer for me, because maybe a little bit at the beginning, but it should wash itself out as I keep sipping on it here. It just kept ramping up more. Originally, I was going to give it a B-, saying for a craft distiller going through this, I think it's really a decent pour, but as I kept finding more and more of that and almost an alcohol bite to it, it's going to drop down to a C+. Now, at the end of the day, a C+ is still an average pour for me, and I think it's one that you should experience, maybe not necessarily go out and buy a whole bottle of it, but if you get the opportunity to taste it, do that. I think that it's a solid rye that maybe just needs either some different grain mash bill in there, or B, maybe just a little more time in the barrel itself. If this is in that minimum 4 years, maybe at that 5-year mark, it can get rid of that bitterness, or whatever age, maybe just a little bit longer than what it truly is. But at the end of the day, I don't think it's bad, just a little disappointing, especially after all I've heard about how great Frey Ranch is. I'm very on the fence about picking up that cask strength even more now. So there you have it, folks. Frey Ranch, bottled and bond, straight rye whiskey. If you have any questions about the bottle itself, let me know down in the comment section below. I will do my best to answer it. And if you have any specific spirits I should go looking for, also let me know down below. Love doing these reviews and sharing with you the experience at home. And as always, may your last drink of the night be the best one.
You know, and I even like it might not.